PKK leader Abdullah Öcalan has called on the group to lay down arms after 40 years of insurgency against the Turkish state.
Ursula von der Leyen's team is in a visit to India to boost trade ties with the country.
Russian and US diplomats met in Istanbul for the second round of talks, but this time Ukraine was off the agenda. Instead, the focus was on restoring bilateral diplomatic relations. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said it would be unrealistic to contemplate a new European defense structure without Turkey.
Kurdistan Workers' Party leader Abdullah Öcalan has asked the members of the banned Kurdish group to lay down arms and dissolve the organization for good. In a long-awaited statement read out by deputies of the pro-Kurdish People's Freedom and Democracy Party in Istanbul on Thursday, the imprisoned PKK leader said the group, quote, has completed its life like its counterparts and necessitated its dissolution. Earlier on Thursday, senior officials from the DEM met with Öcalan as part of renewed peace efforts between Ankara and the PKK. The call could potentially end a conflict that has spanned over 4 decades and claimed tens of thousands of lives. Öcalan, aged 75, has been imprisoned on the island of İmralı of Istanbul since 1999 after being convicted of treason. Founded by Öcalan in 1978, the PKK has led an insurgency in Turkey's southeast since 1984. The group is considered a terrorist organization by Turkey and its Western allies.
Ursula von der Leyen's team is on a mission to India. The College of Commissioners has landed in Delhi to revive a strategic trade partnership with a country that is often seen as difficult to do business with. With this move, the EU is trying to diversify its partners since their relationship with the main ones, China and the US, is increasingly tense. The 2-day trip, that includes a meeting with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday, will be key to boost cooperation on tech. During their meeting, von der Leyen and Modi will discuss, among other things, the future of Ukraine and India's role in the peace negotiations. At the same time, each commissioner will meet with their counterpart. In 2024, the EU and India exchanged 120 billion euros in goods.
Thank you. Diplomats from Russia and the United States are meeting in Istanbul on Thursday to discuss the operation of their respective embassies in Moscow and Washington. The second round meeting follows Russia-US talks in Saudi Arabia last week that marked an extraordinary shift in US foreign policy under President Donald Trump and a clear departure from US-led efforts to isolate Russia over its war in Ukraine. At the talks, Moscow and Washington agreed to start working toward ending the war and improving their diplomatic and economic ties. This includes restoring the staffing at embassies, which have been hard hit in recent years by the mutual expulsion of many diplomats and other restrictions. A US embassy official in Ankara confirmed that Ukraine will not be on the agenda in this round of talks. These meetings are a build-up for a leaders' summit.
Some disarmament,
The last time the leaders of Russia and the US came face-to-face was in the 2019 Osaka G20 summit.
We've had great meetings, we have a very, very good relationship. Who do they work for?
Speaking at the first cabinet meeting of his second term, US President Donald Trump said Ukraine could forget about joining NATO. His statement comes as he prepares to host the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Friday. The pair have agreed on a minerals deal in return for continued US support.
I can tell you that NATO you can forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started.
However, Trump declined to go into detail what concessions he would ask Russia and Ukraine to make. The US president also briefly invited billionaire Elon Musk to speak at the meeting. Musk is not a member cabinet but has a leading role in the Department of Government Efficiency. The tech mogul warned that the US would go bankrupt without spending cuts.
That's the reason I'm here, and taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd like to stack them up, you know. But If we don't do this, America will go bankrupt.
And following the meeting, a question and answer session with reporters took place where Trump took the opportunity to attack Europe. The US president claimed the European Union was formed to screw the United States and vowed to impose stiff tariffs of up to 25%.
Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan stressed on Thursday that his country cannot be excluded from possible future European defense structures.
Avrupa güvenlik mimarisi eğer yeniden oluşacaksa bunun tabii ki Türkiye'siz olması mümkün değil. Yani Türkiye'yi dışarıda bırakan, Türkiye gibi bir askeri gücü dışarıda bırakan bir güvenlik mimarisi yaklaşımının çok fazla gerçekçi olmayacağı hususu da tabii altı çizilmesi gereken başka bir husus.
The comments come as European countries grapple with the challenge of ending their reliance on the United States to provide their security. Turkey has a large military force and a strategic location. However, Ankara's somewhat neutral relations with Moscow and contrasting foreign policies might make it difficult to be included in a new possible European defense alliance.
Former presidential election candidate Catalan Georgescu has been detained after he was stopped in traffic and taken to the General Prosecutor's office for questioning. The ultra-nationalist politician was indicted on 6 counts. These include anti-constitutional acts and misreporting his finances. The charges also revolve around his support for sympathizers of the Iron Guard, a pre-World War II fascist and anti-Semitic movement and political party.
Este o activitate dispusă, iar noi trebuie să punem în aplicare. Uitați la mine, e sigur? Da, bine. Sunt foarte sigur. Sunteți un cetățean al României și eu trebuie să aplic legea.
Georgescu's team accused the system of preventing him from filing his new presidential candidacy. The Central Electoral Bureau, however, denies this. VEC representatives told Euronews that candidates for the presidential elections in May cannot yet be registered.
The criminal charges brought against Călin Georgescu have left Romania's society stunned, with a huge emotional response coming both from his opponents and his supporters, and at the same time underlying just how polarized Romania's society is right now around this subject. We've seen protests right here in front of the General Prosecutor's office. We've seen over 100 people gathered in here, though it is worth noting that there are no official estimates as far as the number of protesters goes, so all we can just rely on is the footage we've managed to film from a height. Now we're looking at what political leaders are saying about all of this. We've seen the mainstream political leaders make a call for calm and also underlying the independence of the Romanian judicial system. They are insisting to let the investigation run its course, but it is also worth noting that some other political leaders, particularly those that are labeled as nationalists, have portrayed this investigation as a tool to keep Călin Georgescu from running again. And now the question remains, what's next?
Pushing for Catalan, which is used by 10 million people to become an official EU language, has been one of the key goals of the president of Catalonia, Salvador Illa, during his visit to Brussels last week. He believes this is a key demand for its citizens.
Even in the official status to these languages, you are saying to the citizens of Catalonia, of Galicia and Basque Country, you're part of Europe. I mean, this is not a matter of translating more or less documents. This is a matter of respecting the identity of European citizens.
The decision must be approved unanimously by all 27 EU countries. But the proposal made by Pedro Sánchez's government to get the support of pro-independence parties is opposed by several European countries.
This was a demand of this political party, but it's a shared demand of lots of people, not only from Catalonia, in Basque Country and in Galicia. So this is not a political, let's say, a political issue, or a political demand. I would put it from another angle. This is a measure that it's a fair measure from a linguistic point of view.
This is his second visit to Brussels since he was sworn in as president of Catalonia 6 months ago. For the first time in more than 10 years, Catalonia has a non-pro-independence president. Illa aspires to rebuild its relationship with the European Union.
That's our aspiration, and I think we're going to achieve it. We want to be fully involved in the European construction, in the European project, in a moment, in a fast-changing world that gives no other way than strengthening European project.
You can listen to the whole interview in our podcast, Radio Schumann.
Legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa have died, say the police, who found the pair alongside their dog during a welfare checkup at their home in New Mexico on Wednesday. He was 95 years old and she was 63. Police say no foul play is believed to be involved. Hackman was a prolific Oscar-winning actor whose studied portraits range from reluctant heroes to conniving villains. He was a frequent and versatile presence on screen from the 1960s into the 21st century. His dozens of films included the Academy Award favourites The French Connection and Unforgiven, and a breakout performance in Bonnie and Clyde. Betsy Arakawa was a classical pianist.